Welcome to this week's episode of the Ringo Report. My name is Brandon Ringo, and I am a heavy metal journalist / musician. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to do an episode of the show last week due to inclement weather. It was kind of crazy as a newly implanted Arkansan. Snow is not exactly a thing I am used to, and so it was a very, very, very interesting kind of finding myself like snowed in. And so unfortunately I wasn't able to do an episode last week, but last week was kind of a very interesting thing. I did manage to still go to WWE Monday Night Raw, which was super fun. Also, I got to visit a band in the studio, a band from Mississippi called Beneath the Kudzu, who played here last year. They're recording a new album at Wolfman Studios, and I got to do a little guest spot with that. And also, my band Man with Caravan recently was just get wrapped up a little couple-day run in Tulsa and Fayetteville, and we got to play with a band in Tulsa called Dust Lord. They're really, really, really cool, like doom band. Also in Fayetteville, we got to play with our friends Dirt Mother and Ghost Hollow. That was super fun. So yes, it's been a very interesting few weeks, and now with February coming up, the Ringo Report is about to get very fun and exciting because pretty much every day in February there's going to be shows coming up. And so one thing I'll be doing in future episodes is going to be breaking down kind of the shows happening this week. Unfortunately, there's not a whole lot going on. Last week there was a really cool Friday Night Fight Metal show with Terminal Nation at Vino's. They played a bunch of new songs. It's probably their last show until their record release in like the summer or whatever. So, but next month there's gonna be a whole lot of crazy stuff, and so that's good. One thing I'm going to do is try to break it all down and make it easy to figure out what's happening and who these bands are. So one segment that I'm about to start doing a lot of is going to be the Arkansas Band Spotlight, and so it's going to be just sort of picking bands that are going to be playing around the state and just sort of sending them some questions online and just trying to learn about them, and so I can tell people why you should care about them. The first installment of this is going to be the band Through Blood from Searcy, Arkansas. Formed in kind of the ashes of the band Lucidium, who had a couple of shows in like Full Moon Records in Conway, and also they played at Vino's. The band is very much inspired by bands like Boundaries and Dying Wish and Orthodox, No Cure, Counterparts, The Devil Wears Prada, and stuff like that. So they kind of have that like metal that's, kind of an older metalcore sort of like vibe and inspiration. And their music is like really good, especially if you love that type of stuff. So now as far as upcoming shows, the band's going to be playing with Open Casket on February 23rd at Vino's. And then the next night, they're going to be playing with Current Solace at Full Moon Records in Conway on that Saturday, February 24th. So that show with Open Casket and Realm of Death, that show is going to be special because it's their first show. So that band basically they are debuting by playing back-to-back nights, which as someone who just played back-to-back nights and got my fingertips torn up, I can tell you, good luck, boys. So this Arkansas Spotlight, the answers provided for me were from Gavin, and he's a really, really good dude. And so look up Through Blood, get you ready to. They're going to be working on putting out new material and getting a demo done. So look out for them and go see them and at a show and tell them that you heard about them on the Ringo Report. Speaking of music releases that are going to be coming out over the last few weeks since I did episode 2 of the show, there's been a lot of really cool music that's been released and from like local bands. And so I want to sort of go through a few of the more pivotal albums that have come out. I think one of the biggest releases recently, or the one that I'm kind of the most excited about, has been Open Casket has put out a new split with a band called Torn in Half from Boston. The album, it was recorded at Wolfman Studios here in Little Rock, and the sound quality is just absolutely like crazy. They got it mixed and mastered by a couple of different people and stuff, and like it just it sounds so big and full and like just like an absolute bulldozer to the gut. And so yeah, and then the Torn in Half stuff, like they're for their side of it, it's just absolutely brutal. And so yeah, so Open Caskets just continue to make waves and do such cool things. And so there's no telling. Also, one of the songs on their split features Zashed, so which is very cool to me. You know, bringing the homies along. I think it's very very it's exciting. I can't wait to see what those guys end up doing together, and I'm sure they'll end up playing a show together at some point. And so another band that put out a new release is the band Chain Snatcher, which is sort of a Little Rock supergroup. It's got people like Matt Johnson and Kennedy from Dryer Fire in it. Also Asa from Dryer Fire is in it. Alex from Moon Main and Blast is in it. And yeah, so Chain Snatcher is a very, very, very abrasive, aggressive power violence band from Little Rock. And these songs are just, you know, it's, you kind of know exactly what you're getting into. It's like someone throwing a brick at your face as hard as humanly possible, and you know, as many times as possible. And so yeah, so Chain Snatcher is absolutely a band that is worth checking out if you like that really, really, really like, you know, grimy, like sludgy, like type of power violence. And they're going to be playing their first show on February 29th at Vino's with Livid, Hypertension, and some band called Mamath Karavan. Another release that's out from Little Rock band that's worth checking out is going to be a split between Death Rattle and Dryer Fire, a couple of budding local hardcore bands. These two bands have been making massive waves in the scene. They've been playing like just constantly like playing like huge packed out shows at Vino's and stuff, and they even got to do a little run together, a successful little run to like Springfield, Missouri and like Fayetteville and stuff, where they played Sweater Fest. And so those bands are making waves, and they both like you know, both their songs sound like, so the Dryer Fire side of the split, I think, is like, no offense to everybody, it's my favorite, because I love how it's like, it's a little more down tuned and chuggy, and it's like you know, it's very, very thick sounding. Death Rattle is more kind of traditional hardcore, which is fine, it's cool and like and stuff, but like yeah, I love the deeper, more like down tuned type of like style of that music, basically. So but yeah, but both sides of them are awesome, and if you love that type of music, this split is exactly something that you should check out. Another thing that's worth checking out is this week's episode of Crashcast, featuring Jeff Bowie of the bands like Descended from Wolves, Becoming Saints, and Soul Embraced. Jeff is an absolutely a wonderful dude, and his conversation with Corey is really, really cool, and it's really fun listening to them kind of tell the stories. You know, Soul Embraced is one of the first, like, I don't know if you call them Christian metal bands, but the solid state core type bands or whatever, that like I had really discovered. And so it was cool. Like, I remember getting to see them play with Living Sacrifice, but probably like 10 or 15 years ago. I guess it would have been 2008. It was one of my favorite shows I've ever been to. And so yeah, so it's cool getting to hear those stories. So yeah, make sure you check out this week's episode of Crashcast. For my next episode of Crashcast, like I said, we'll be breaking down a list of all the things, shows that are happening in February, some of the bigger ones, some of the things you need to pay attention to. If there's any news releases or any music releases, I'll be spotlighting that. If you've got anything you want me to talk about, reach out to me on Facebook and let me know what you want, and I will absolutely do my best to cover it. In the meantime, thank you so much for everything. I'm Brandon Ringo.